Hey guys, Miss Raymond here today to talk to you about poetry. Okay, so what is poetry? In poetry, the sound and meaning of words are combined to express feelings, thoughts, and ideas. The poet chooses words carefully. And poetry is usually written in lines, and most of it is not very long. All right, so poetry elements. Writers use many different elements to create their poems. These elements generally include rhythm, sound, imagery, and form. So rhythm is the flow of the beat in a poem. It gives poetry a musical feel. It can be fast or slow, depending on the mood and the subject of the poem. You can measure rhythm in something known as meter by counting the beats in each line. Sound, writers love to use interesting sounds in their poems. After all, poems are meant to be heard, usually read out loud. Sound devices include rhyme, repetition, alliteration, and onomatopoeia. Rhyme are words that end with the same sound, like hat, cat, and bat. Rhyming sounds don't have to be spelled the same way in order to rhyme, like cloud and a loud rhyme. Rhyme is the most common sound device used in poetry. Repetition occurs when poets repeat words, phrases, or lines in a poem. It helps to create a pattern, increases the rhythm, strengthens feelings, ideas, and the mood in a poem. Alliteration is the repetition of the first consonant sound in words, as in the nursery rhyme, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And onomatopoeia, the final sound device, are words that represent the actual sound of something, are words of onomatopoeia, like the word bark, or purr, or boom, drip, tick, bang. These appeal to the sense of sound. And we will talk about in more depth sound devices in another lesson about poetry. All right, imagery is the use of words to create pictures or images in your mind. It appeals to the five senses: smell, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. Details about smells, sounds, colors, and taste help create strong images in poetry. To create vivid images, writers also use something known as figures of speech. And these are tools that they can use to create images or paint pictures in your mind. And so similes, metaphors, personification, hyperbole are some examples of figures of speech that create imagery. And we will go into much greater detail about those four figures of speech and several other lessons later on. And finally, there are different forms of poetry, and this is just kind of covering some of the main ones: couplet, tercet, acrostic, cinquain, haiku, concrete poem, free verse, limerick, sonnet, and narrative poem are just some forms of poetry. And again, we will have another lesson just about different forms and types of poetry. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail about that today. Here's an example of a humorous poem: A Princess Laments. I kissed a frog because I'd heard that it would turn into a prince. That's not exactly what occurred, and I've been croaking ever since. That's a humorous poem. Here's an example of a poem by Langston Hughes, who was a famous poet from 1902 to 1967. And so the mood of this one is a lot different than the previous one. This is not what we call a humorous poem. It has a different mood to it. It's called Dreams. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. All right, and here's just one more example of a poem. Sun and rain and wind and storms and thunder go together. There has to be a bit of each to make the weather. All right, we are going to watch a short video about poetry and then answer some questions.
Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility.
Wordsworth!
Yes?
Thanks for the intro. We'll take it from here.
What's going on?
What's poetry? Here's what I found. It's when you're written and spitting words for the meaning and sound. Poems, they pack an emotional punch, whether a haiku, a sonnet, or a limerick for fun. Some poetry has a super strict form, but it could be formless and be a super slick poem. A poem written in verse you'll find. Most have meter and many have rhyme. What's prose? It's the opposite of poetry. Straightforward, like a newspaper story. See? Prose has rules to be grammatical, but with poems, rules go or sabbatical. You can do whatever you dream, cool runnings, and drop capitals like E.E. Cummings, and break grammatical rules with abandon. Tell Keats and Yeats you're coming for the canon.
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Also figurative language, the choice is yours. And like umpires, now you know the score. Figurative language goes beyond literal meaning, uses similes and metaphors and even appealing to the five senses. That's imagery. Now let's compare prose to some poetry.
Fog appeared in the harbor and city.
That's some pretty simple prose, you get me? Carl Sandburg's poem has figures of speech.
The fog comes on, little cat feet.
That's a metaphor about the paws of a kitty who
Sits looking over the harbor and city.
Now, fog doesn't really look, cause it's not alive, but the poet got creative. He personified. Sandburg's expressive language shines. So read and write poems, it'll blow your mind. Let's do
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Poets often use a sound device, like rhyming when some words sound alike. You can use a rhyme in a rhyme scheme that's a pattern of rhymes at the end of each line. See? It could be A-B-A-B or A-A-B-B or many others, do you see? But you don't have to rhyme in your composition. You can write in free verse. See what I did there? Alliteration is another sound device. Just repeat first consonants, that'll sound nice, like rise up for you, the flag is flown. Some alliteration from Walt Whitman. And lastly, let's hit up onomatopoeia when the sound of a word gets the clue about its meaning. Rumble and rattle sound like echoes from a yell, like it rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell.
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Impressive. It occurs to me, your rap songs could be considered poetry. Striking resemblances. Well, with that, I must bid you adieu and return to the netherworld.
All right, so hopefully that helped sort of illustrate maybe a little bit more about poetry and some of the devices used in poetry. So we're gonna just try to review to see how many of these questions we might know the answer to. All right, so there are 10 questions, so you can just write down on a piece of paper A, B, C, or D, and then we will check our answers at the end. All right, question number 1, what is true about poetry? A, poetry is always written in strict form. B, poets choose words for their meaning and sound. C, unlike prose, poetry is written in straightforward language. Or D, poets never read their poems aloud. So choose what you think is the best answer. Okay. I'm going to go with B, and then we're going to move on. We'll go back and check. Question 2, which of the following is not a type of poem? A haiku, B, a sonnet, C, a limerick, D, a news article. So which one is not a type of poem? Okay, you choose the answer. I'm going to go with D, and then we'll come back and check. Question 3, true or false? Poems must follow grammatical rules. In other words, rules with capitalization, punctuation, periods, commas, things like that. Is that true or false? All right. Question 4, alliteration, rhyme, and onomatopoeia are all examples of A, prose, B, sound devices, C, image devices, or D, meters. So alliteration, rhyme, and onomatopoeia are examples of which of these? Prose, sound devices, image devices, or meters. All right, you choose what you think is the right answer and write it down. And we will check in the end. All right, question 5. Which of the following does not use figurative language? A, the fog comes on little cat feet. B, fog appeared in the harbor and city. C, the frog sat like a bump on a log in the fog. D, fog fell over the lake like a ghostly waterfall. So you're choosing the one that does not use figurative language. It doesn't use personification or a metaphor or simile. It's just straightforward, okay? All right. Question 6, rhyming is when some words A, sound alike, B, sound exactly the same, C, are spelled the same way, or D, have the same definition. So which one describes rhyming? Okay. All right, question 7. What is the rhyme scheme in the following poem excerpt? Whose words these I think I know, his house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So you have to look at which words rhyme. We've got 4 lines, right? So know, though, and snow all rhyme, right? But here does not. So the letters show which ones rhyme. So is it A, B, B, A, B, B, A? Is it B, A, B, A, B, C, A, B, or D, A, B, A? It's okay if you don't quite get that part yet. All right. Question 8, which poetic device is used in the following line? Paulina put the pretty pink petunias into pots. Is that personification, alliteration, onomatopoeia, or metaphor? Paulina put the pretty pink petunias into pots. Okay, you choose what you think is the best answer. All right, question 9, which poetic device is used in the following line? The water plopped into the lake in big droplets. Is this personification, alliteration, onomatopoeia, or a metaphor? All right, you choose what you think is the right answer. And we'll give you a hint. It is should be a sound device rather than a figure of speech. See if that helps. All right, you write down what you think is the right answer. And then last question, question 10. Which poetic device is used in the following line? The river swallowed the town whole. The river swallowed the town whole. Is that personification, alliteration, onomatopoeia, or simile? Think about the swallowed, it's a river. Think about whether that's something a river can actually do or not. All right, I'm going to submit the quiz and we're going to check ourselves here. All right, so question number 1, check your answers. What is true about poetry? B, poets choose words for their meaning and sound. That's what poetry is all about. Question 2, which of the following is not a type of poem? A news article is not a type of poem, it's prose, right? Haiku, sonnet, and limerick are all types of poems, and we will learn more about those in another lesson. All right, question 3, true or false, poems must follow grammatical rules. And the answer is false. No, you can do whatever you want in a poem. All right, question 4. Alliteration, rhyme, and onomatopoeia are examples of B, sound devices, right? And we will talk about those in another future lesson as well. Which of the following does not use figurative language? And that would be B, fog appeared in the harbor and city, because there is no, it's not a simile, metaphor, personification, anything like that. Whereas all our other answers, the fog comes on little cat feet, the frog sat like a bump on a log, right? So simile, metaphor, and then personification. Frog fell over the lake. Oh, excuse me, another simile, like a ghostly waterfall. So we've got similes and metaphors and personification up here. All right, question 6. Rhyming is when some words sound alike. Remember, they don't have to be spelled the same. They just sound alike. Question 7. What is the rhyme scheme in the following poem? Excerpt. So it was D, A, A, B, A, because no, though, and snow all rhyme. So that's where the A comes from. And then the B here doesn't rhyme with any of those. Okay. Question 8. What poetic device is used in the following line? Paulina put the pretty pink petunias into pots. That is alliteration, right? Repeating the same consonant sound at the beginning of multiple words. Tongue twisters, right? Question 9, what poetic device is used in this line? The water plopped into the lake in big droplets. So plopped, that is your example of onomatopoeia, right? It sounds like, the word sounds like the sound it actually makes. And then 10, what poetic device is used in this following line? The river swallowed the town whole. So personification is giving human qualities to something that's not a human, the river. Okay, and we will talk about that. Sound devices in another lesson. So if you didn't quite get all of them today, that's okay. This is just sort of more of an introduction to poetry and some of the common things that are used and found in poetry. All right, that's all I have for today.